I know a dude who committed suicide, and nobody really picked on this guy, but he needed a hard wake up call. Man, this guy probably would have made it if at a younger age people just said, dude, you need to stop doing these things. I'm trying to keep it vague because I don't want to drag this guy's family or anything, because he did take his own life and it's sad. He was a friend of mine. Nobody was willing to tell him the hard truth. Nobody was willing to tell him to put down the garbage. Nobody was telling him to clean himself. He wasn't getting into that social interaction. He grew up reveling in these really awful behaviors. And then when he was an adult, no one who had to be around him would be around him. And then he took his own life.
This is true, but every single person that talks about this, like health at every size and all this shit, misses this fact, okay? For it to be a hard truth, or for it to be tough love only works when there's actual love. Yep. People will walk around, especially conservatives, and they'll do this shit where it's like, you're a fat loser piece of shit. Somebody has to tell you. And it's like, do you think that's like the impetus they needed to get to the gym? Like everything that you do, when you do tough love, there has to be like an underlying current of like, listen, you know, you can do better than this. I know you can do better than this. Like, you have to fix this thing. It'll be better for you. Everybody, like, there has to be that element of compassion. Otherwise, you're just shitting on somebody. And I find that there's a lot of movements about like tough love that's not really like, no offense, men don't give a fuck about women's health, but suddenly they really do when it comes to health at every size. Now every guy is like, well, hold on, the optimal body fat, blah, blah, blah. You never give a fuck about women's health before. You're just looking to bully people, you know? Right. So I think that's important.
Why do you think it is people want to be mean on the internet so much?
Oh, they're miserable. Well, think about it this way. I think about this maybe once a week. Paul Joseph Watson, right? I would call myself a big Paul Joseph Watson fan. Jesus. I haven't watched one of that guy's... Well, hold on. I haven't watched one of that guy's videos in like 6 years. But still, I'd be like, yeah, I'm a huge fan. I've never left a comment on one of his videos. I've maybe only liked them to bookmark them for future reference. I've never So think about the kind of psychology you have to leave a mean comment. You have to like really be angry enough to just, let alone, you know, if you say something terrible in a video that's obviously wrong, okay, yeah, you're gonna get dunked on. But just to make a video, maybe it's neutral, controversial or whatever, to leave like a mean comment or to leave a mean tweet, reply, something like that, you have to be in a certain state already to even like be there. I don't know anyone who does that, unless they're trolling.
Well, I think part of it is being online and the anonymity that is afforded to that. Now, I'm not saying we should get rid of online anonymity, but it's just an objective fact that 99% of the people who say stuff about you online, they would never dream of saying that to your face.
Yep.
God, like, that's why I love Facebook so much. Yeah, it's funny there. Listen, you say that no one would want to get rid of anonymity. I firmly believe that once you hit a certain level as a content creator, you want all anonymity gone. I want the social security numbers, home addresses of all these motherfuckers, because nothing feels better than some up making fun of you on Twitter or something. He's got an account linked. You're like, I know everything about you, and then you go through his shit and you just light this piece of shit light up. But I don't advocate for that. Sorry. The anonymity does. The analogy I always bring up is if you play like FPS. I don't know if it's still like this. I haven't played CS:GO in a long time. But if you hop into a game and 3 people are on mic and one person is typing, the one person that's typing is always the toxic piece of shit, because it's a lot harder to be mean in voice, like I hate you, blah blah blah, versus the guy that's typing on the keyboard. It's like, oh, you're the worst player, and it's like, yeah, okay, dude.
There are people who they just all they have is going online and lying about other people and being mean, just generally.
If they were to try that in real life, they would get punched in the face. But we're not in real life a lot of the times when we're online. It's the same thing with women. I mean, you know, most of the bullying that I think happens to women largely comes from other women. I think it might depend what content spheres you're operating on. But like, you know, a lot of the makeup people who get bullied for whatever reason, it's other women that are bullying them. But if these women were, I guess, in friend groups, there would still be bullying because they're women. But it would be a lot less toned down. We would be checking each other socially, because that's not okay to do, like, to someone you know in real life. But because it's all online, we're all anonymous, there's no real consequences. It's a very toxic situation for a lot of people where they do indulge in behaviors that wouldn't be okay.
I think there's also the fact that you mentioned that word dehumanizing. Dehumanizing, it's a really loaded word, but like there is an aspect of dehumanization that you don't like see the effect of what you're doing on somebody. If you take most people and you put them in real life and you put them in front of somebody that's like earnestly trying in real life to make fun of somebody like that, and that takes a lot. You have to be almost like psychopathic to go after somebody like that. But online, it's super easy. And I don't know if you guys have the experience. Bro, I'll go to events or I'll meet fans sometimes. And the guy like, oh shit. Like I was a guy that like, do you remember when I tweeted at you that like that last video you did was like the worst thing I ever saw? Like I f*** with you all the time online. And I'm like, why you like this? Oh, I just say that shit. I'm just like fucking around or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, it doesn't feel that way
was
from
a
my
guy,
perspective, you know? People do that shit all the time. I'm like, bro, what the And he's like, oh, I was just say that shit just clowning, you know? I'm
There
like,
was a
okay.
kid at church.
They apparently dedicate a lot of time to drawing pictures about.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
They
And
spend
when
a
you-
lot of time like drawing you specifically.
Yeah, obsessing over. Yeah, but then when you meet in real life, they're like chill. They're just like, oh, you know, I'm just like fucking around when I say that, and they don't realize like the impact that it has or what it comes off as because they're just not really thinking about it that way, you know.
There was a kid at church who was like working the mass, and I was leaving, and he recognized me, and he identified himself as like one of the guys who had like just said vicious stuff to me on Twitter. But they're always so excited, and you know their hands are like shaking when they meet you and everything, and it's just like, okay, I understand what this is, and that's something I've struggled with. I don't know if it's because I'm Irish, but like I get mad at people online, you know, if they want to come at me, and so I've tried to like reorient my thinking where it's like, look, if you're saying this about me and I'm saying this about you, then it's like anger. But if you can have self-control and just like not reply, not get involved, then it just becomes sad that this person is, you know, putting all of that negativity towards you, spending so much time like just trying to come after you. Then it's just like pathetic because it's like, is this how you make a living? In some cases, yes.
It truly. How old is your child? Do you say?
15 months.
Oh fuck. Okay. When you
So she's little, yeah.
They're getting to that age. There's something that happens when a child gets to like 2, 3, 4, when you're starting to be able to say like right and wrong. You don't do this. And there's a phenomenon that happens where kids will start to do things and they're really just looking for attention. Right. And there's a phenomenon where it's so annoying when parents don't understand this. This is the worst thing in the world you can do for a kid is a kid goes to hit somebody or do something they're not supposed to. And you look at the kid and you're like, oh my gosh, don't do that. That's not good. And you're kind of like laughing. You're telling them to do it because what the kid is saying is they're getting positive attention for it, and you're training them to engage in that behavior over and over and over again. It's a very juvenile, very dumb thing that like I shouldn't say dumb. It's pretty sophisticated actually because they're trying to get that social validation.
It's a form of communication for them.
Yeah, I think as people we all have that in us, and I'm gonna be totally honest. There are times when I hop on accounts and I go into like other streamers' chats. I usually don't have time, but sometimes I'll do it, and with people is a lot of fun. When I say some, because I'm like, what? Because I know what triggers me the most, and I'll be like, oh my god, like I would so much rather watch this streamer do the blah blah blah, and you type, and then when the streamer gets mad at you. And they're like, why would you type that? And they ban you. I'm like, oh, yes, I got him. Yeah. It does feel good. I understand the feeling. Because, like, you get a lot of power. It's like the kid getting the attention from the parents. Like, yes, he saw me.
Yeah, that's why you don't feed the trolls.
Exactly.
Right? It exists for a reason. Women do that in a more, I think, backhanded way. It's like you'll say something like, oh my gosh, Kelly, your acne scars are healing up so great. It looks so much better. But it's the same reason. It's to elicit a response.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm looking up the rule. What's Rule 14? Is that what it was?
I'll say that at the
Hopefully not
playground if
setting the
my
wrong
sons are
rule.
ever like beating kids up and up here.
Yes.
Can you stop your son? No, he's looking for a reaction. Don't get involved.
Rule 14 of the internet: if you argue with trolls, they win.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I used to do things on Twitter and stuff when people would comment. I would say something like under Rule 14 of the internet, this conversation is hereby terminated. So, like, kind of trolling them back.